Mike.
You're Wandering Ronin Joe.
Travis.
And this is Ryan.
And this is the second part of our Coop Birthday Spectacular.
Hooray!
So, he wandered in the middle of our first episode, right after we got done with the banter, but before we started playing Boss Monster. And he got to call his shot since it's his birthday, and so as a result, we will be playing Machi Koro. Worth noting, the version of Machi Koro we will be playing, and it's basically a city building game. We will be playing the Deluxe Edition, which means that the Harbor and Millionaire's Row expansions are already in it. They are generally packaged separately, but I've already shuffled it all together, so F it, I'm not going to try and figure out what cards went with which set.
That's fine.
So, we'll be looking at that here in just a few minutes. Very cool game, highly recommended. We'll get everybody's input on it here shortly. We heard a little bit about what Joe and Ryan were both up to in our last episode, so I guess that means it is mine and Coop's turn. We'll let the birthday boy go last, because I'm sure booze may or may not wind up involved. Later today, probably, just not yet.
Oh, it's guaranteed.
Yes. So,
because I didn't bring any for him.
I wound up picking up some new games since the last time we chatted. I was telling the guys here I picked up Time Stories, probably a little less than a week ago now. Time Stories, very much like a storytelling board game, very cool, from Asmodee. Really interesting game with an ongoing storytelling mechanic, and that is one that will quite possibly wind up coming up after Pandemic Legacy. I have punched everything out. I've got the game ready to play, and the deck of cards for the story is still sealed in the box. I will not open them until it's time to sit down and play the first game.
Yep.
So that'll probably happen. I probably won't actually sit down to play it until after we get done playing Pandemic Legacy. Did you mention on our last episode that you got Risk Legacy?
Yes.
Okay, very cool. That's also probably something
Twice,
we're going
in
to...
fact.
Well, we're mentioning it again on this one. That's another one that you'll probably get some playthroughs here on the channel in the not terribly distant future when Joe gets that and we set aside time to
That
sit
may
down
wind
and
up
play
being the irregularly scheduled special edition of Rage.
Oh, nice. So that'll replace Denzi Caster as our irregularly scheduled podcast on the network. Okay, fair enough. But I picked up that. I picked up the High Caliber Ops expansion for Shadowrun Crossfire. That's a game we'll wind up talking about here on the show eventually. I have purposely not mixed those cards in with the rest of the set yet, specifically so we can do them separately, so to speak.
Oh, so you make everyone miserable first and then actually have a fun game afterwards.
It's a fun game.
He's already made us miserable now.
No, it's a fun game without that expansion. But I think it's going to be even more fun with that expansion. I really think it needed the expansion. I also picked up Red Dragon Inn 3, which is apparently the hardest to find edition of Red Dragon Inn. There are 5 base boxes for Red Dragon Inn, and I've had the damnedest time finding number 3. When I finally found it online, I just said screw it and bought it because I saw it available. And that game, I think it's the hardest one to find because all 4 characters have special mechanics to them. That's a little... So they're all very unique, very different from each other. I very much want to play Brewmaster Frink, who is the, believe, half-ogre... He's the half-ogre potion maker, and it's the first character I've seen where his deck specializes in getting everyone else drunk. It's what he does. He has practically no fighting in his deck at all. It's all get people drunk and with a smidge of gambling. So, Red Dragon Inn is another game we'll talk about here on the show eventually, because I'm well on the way, because my wife loves that game, to getting everything for it.
That might be an episode where she'll actually be part of it.
Yeah, I doubt it. My wife has been on RQR before on the old show, and I doubt she's going to come back on, because the reason she liked being on the one episode she was on the old show is because she got to make fun of people.
But she could talk about Red Dragon Inn, which is her favorite game.
That's possible.
That's the argument I'd be sticking with.
I also picked up the Watchmen crossover for DC Deck Builder, and that's another one we're going to talk about because it is a DC... it's a variant in a box. There are no supervillains because one of the players is the supervillain. So it basically adds hidden roles and a couple other mechanics to DC. And from what I've looked at and read, it just seems like it's like the Crisis game, just done a hell of a lot better. So, because the Crisis variant is a little dicey. But that's pretty much everything I've been up to. Just checking out new games and picking up a few new things. Coop, what have you been up to since we were last on the show?
I have been working on using the 4th edition Shadowrun RPG system to go and set things up to go and start a Fallout RPG.
Okay.
So that's something I've been doing. I've not really been doing much as far as like board games go per se, although did go and play a game called Huacha a while ago, about a month back. And it's actually a pretty fun, little pick-me-up game. Sometime I'll see if I can go and borrow it and bring it by. I think you guys would actually enjoy it.
Is it the Chinese martial arts themed one?
Yeah, but
Okay.
But it's a just matching games. You get sets of things. You try to get points in all of your sets of cards. Go and screw over. Yeah. The thing is, as you go and play these sets, they have abilities that let you screw over other players. So.
So I think the proper pronunciation of that game's name is Whatcha! But I think that's the way it's supposed to. It's supposed to be. I wish I had the sound effect for Kamen Rider Meteor nearby because he does an awesome Bruce Lee imitation of that show. So no, I've actually seen that game previewed a couple of times. It looked like a lot of fun. So we're gonna wind up sitting down today, as Coop has requested. We check out Machi Koro. Basic idea of Machi Koro. It's a little card game. Got some deck building elements to it, and it's basically we build a city, and at the same time we try to make sure that our city is nicer than everyone else's. So,
and trust me, the Millionaires Club is how we really start taking each other over to make sure ours is the nicest.
Yes. So you've played this before?
No, I was here when you explained what the Millionaires Club was and why you actually kind of disliked the idea behind the expansion.
Well, I went back and then I read it a little more closely, and it really doesn't do a heck of a lot beyond it lets you. It creates a new mechanic in the game, but it doesn't. My understanding of it originally was that you had to. It allowed you to put cards out and have them under construction. That's not quite the way it works. So it's a lot easier than I thought it was.
So less stickish.
Yeah, no. Because Machi Koro in and of itself can have some dickery to it, but that's part of the fun of the game. So,
well, you would know.
Yeah, well,
we're all the novices here.
I will put it to you like this: my wife likes this game. So, and the list of games my wife will play is incredibly short. But Red Dragon Inn, this, and Walk the Plank are three in particular. She basically likes games where she can screw with people. So, which is fun.
Didn't she also like Tokaido?
She hasn't played Tokaido yet.
Oh, I thought you got around to that. Okay.
No, not yet. But eventually, we'll give it a shot. So, folks, when we come back, we will have played a little Machi Koro, and we'll see what everybody thinks of that. Stick around, folks. We got to pay some bills, so does YouTube, but we'll be right back after this.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night, ladies and gentlemen. This is your Wandering Ronin Joe, bringing you a quick and sturdy special report. If you like hearing about giant robots, monstrous creatures, or just the good men and women fighting the good fight, we have a show for you. Tune in to Electric City Sentai Denzicaster over on the ECS network, and me and several others will be bringing you Tokusatsuverse in a somewhat regularly scheduled format. We'll be seeing you then. This is your Wandering Ronin Joe, signing off.
Alright, everybody, we are back. We have just got done playing Machi Koro, the Deluxe Edition, in the really nice 10 box. I hate 10 boxes, but this one is actually sturdy, so I'm cool with it. By the wonderful folks at IDW Games, designed by Masao Suginuma. This is actually a Japanese game, if you couldn't tell by the name. So, a lot of fun. I think everybody enjoyed themselves for the most part. This was Coop's birthday pick, so I don't know whose birthday is next.
May.
Yours is in May?
I'm sorry for being super sadistic with my game picks. But
I don't think you were super sadistic with your game pick. When's your birthday? Right?
29th of June.
29th of June? Okay, well, actually, I guess out of the people in the room, my birthday comes next, but I tend to pick the games we play a lot of times anyway. So, and I don't know what I'll pick. I may just be stupid and say we're all going to play Ninja.
Oh, God.
So, It's not a great game, but we got to dog one eventually on this show.
Oh, look, I've got a thing at that place with the person.
I'll be need me in tonight? Okay, fine.
So, what we're looking at here, Machi Koro, just to give everybody at home who's never played this a brief overview. Number one, the version we reviewed is the Deluxe Edition, which means that we already have the Millionaires Club and Millionaires Row and Harbor expansions mixed in. So we already had those items in. The regular Machi Koro plays, as far as the setup, a la Dominion, in that every establishment, the locations that you can purchase to earn money later in the game, would all be laid out, and you could buy from any of them. That was not the case here because we're playing with the 2 expansions. We play it using the Harbor almost deck building game style rules, where there is a lineup that you build from of 10 items and no duplicates. Exactly. So, and there are also more landmarks to build because in the base Machi Koro there's actually fewer landmarks. So we played,
for instance, no harbor.
Yeah, the harbor is not one of them. The harbor is in the Harbor expansion. It does not add any new landmarks.
Huh.
The Millionaires Club expansion just adds new cards and the renovation mechanic. So, let's see here. And for the record, the Harbor expansion adds, I think, the harbor and the airport. The original game, you just have the train station, the shopping mall, the amusement park, and the radio tower. So
I would have expected the airport to be the Millionaires Club expansion.
You also, for the record, unless I'm horribly mistaken, you also don't start with City Hall in the regular game.
Huh.
So, but anyway, basic idea, it's somewhere between Dominion and Settlers of Catan. So, every card has a number on it. Every player will roll 1 or 2 dice, depending on the landmarks they have available to them on their turn. That will trigger different locations in each player's city, and that will allow income to happen. Some establishments are luxuries, like restaurants and the like. Those will trigger only when someone else rolls the number, and you will have to pay the owner of that building some money. Then you have industry, either primary or secondary. Primary industry triggers no matter who rolls the number. Green will trigger only when you roll it. And then there are purple establishments. And the purple establishments, more often than not, trigger when everyone else rolls, although there are a number that will trigger only when you roll.
Which we ran into mostly.
Right. And it will specify on the card which is which. So
purple means pay attention.
Yeah, basically. And then you wind up, whoever builds all of their landmarks first, in the version we're playing, there are 6 that need to be built, wins. So, first impressions of Machi Koro. Joe?
It's deceptively simplistic, and yet that same simplicity can cause quite the complex interactions between players.
Okay.
There are no cards that are all that bad in terms of figuring out what they do. I think the tax office is probably the most complex one to keep track of. All the other cards, they're either really simple of, if this gets rolled, you earn this, and you just have to pay attention to the color. Or it's purple, so you got to pay attention to it anyway.
Right.
So I didn't see any real difficulties there. It's got a fine, kind of fun style for art. That's probably one of its key points, is its artistic value. It's fun.
Yeah, I really do like the art style on it. So, Coop, your thoughts on Machi Koro? First impression.
I was intrigued at how complicated they made the cards without making them complicated or confusing. Sorry. Because the cards are, like, a lot of the cards were very much obviously balanced around certain key points in the game. Like, certain cards would only, activate while there were a certain number of fewer or more landmarks. So players had to go and play around, about when they went and started building their landmarks, because the landmarks do cool stuff themselves.
Oh, yeah.
And are actually necessary for certain game plans. So I like that while it was you go and roll dice, get income, buy stuff. All of the different lines that you can go and take were really interesting and thoughtful. So it's a complicated but not confusing game.
Yeah, I used the phrase on one of our last episodes. I used the phrase on one of our last episodes: complex, not complicated.
There you go.
Okay.
Where it's a game that has moving parts, but it doesn't make you want to pull your hair out. So,
although of all of the things out there that was annoying, I think the radio tower was probably the most, because the re-rolling of the dice just was so time consuming.
Mm-hmm.
I felt that as soon as people went and started building that location, that it really went and started to slow down the game, and the game is already pretty slow paced as it is, because you have to go and sit there and roll and then discern what all actually activates.
It's not the quickest game.
I think repeated plays helps that.
Oh,
you
yeah.
become familiar with the cards, but
Correct.
yes, that's exactly what you're saying. Ryan, first impressions.
First impressions, I liked it a lot, to be honest with you.
Okay.
I would say, to be honest with you, this game here is more of an adult version of Monopoly without the ton of the green, the additional cash. Because you're trading in and out coins and equaling up 5, 10, 20 to open up your landmarks. But in a way, it was kind of fun for me in that aspect. But yeah, you had the card build aspect mixed in it too. So I would say for adult wise, this would be excellent.
And for
a party,
entertaining than
yeah.
Monopoly.
Yeah.
Well, this is true. There's a lot of things I can think of that are more entertaining than Monopoly.
Monopoly has become you collect these things because there's a different edition, but you never play the damn thing.
Yeah.
So, my personal thoughts on it, I really enjoy it. When I first picked it up, I will admit the art style actually attracted me to it at first. I thought it was more of a traditional deck building game. I was very much wrong. When they refer to it as a city building dice rolling card game, and that's essentially what it is. I didn't. First couple of times I played Dominion, which is no longer on my shelf, and I know there are people out there who will think I'm a heretic for that. I did not care for Dominion at all. And as I understand, the more and more you add to it, kind of the worse and worse it gets.
Half of one, 50% of the other. Half of the expansions were really cool and made the game faster and more fun. The other half went and made everyone hate life. Absolutely every card was miserable.
Let's introduce curses. Give them out regularly.
Another game that I genuinely do not like is Catan. I've never liked Catan. I find it to be a slow, drawn-out game, so I've never cared much for it.
I think that's its only fault for Catan, is that it can be incredibly slow.
Yeah.
I don't get I have not played very many games of Catan because no one seems to ever want to play it, which is my problem, to actually try it out and get good sample size.
I loved playing Catan on Xbox Live. Wasn't nowhere near as freaking slow. But
oh god, yes.
It's me. If it's just me playing against the computer, they take their turns quickly. I'm okay with this. Machi Koro, though, to me scratches both itches. It kind of gives you I don't want to say non-confrontational card game that you get out of Dominion, at least out of the box,
because it's quite confrontational.
Yeah,
but
can be.
And then you have something like. And then you have the dice rolling, aspects of producing, a la Settlers of Catan. You get that out of this game too. So to me, it kind of scratches both edges, and I like it a lot. The components that come in here, I'll be perfectly honest, not a huge fan of the money, because the money is cardboard, as is things in a lot of games. But to me, the money is very boring looking.
Yeah, I believe that, again, the coins could have been traded out for bills, and it would have actually made it easier to go and get correct change and to go or organize everything on the table. But
yeah, and I mean, they do at least. They're all different sizes. They're all distinctly different colors, but they're very bland looking to me. The renovation tokens are fine. Despise the dice that come with the game. At some point, I will probably replace the dice that are in here.
Some ugly, horrific dice.
The reason I despise them, I despise any die that has a special symbol on it. If it's a conventional D6 die and it has a special symbol on it, that symbol needs to be the 6. And on these, it's the 1. And so
I should never be bringing my Eye of Sauron dice here.
Accurate.
Yeah, correct. So I have one too. It's in the lamp up above me, which is probably where these two are going to go. Very simple. I think the expansions, they do add a lot to the game. Now, it's not something I've played the game without the expansions. Everyone else here has yet to, but I do think they add a lot to the game. The game is a lot shorter if you just play with the 4 landmarks.
Oh, of course, because you have to go and accrue 32 less, gold throughout the game.
Correct. But I think there's a variety of different items. I like the mechanics that get added in with Millionaire's Row. I thought the renovation mechanic was actually very intuitive after you read it. Because RTFC, read the fucking card.
I also like they put cards in Millionaire's Row that don't exactly, that typically won't actually operate, in a typical setting, but they're there to go and fight the other mechanics that were involved so that people can't do as, busted things. Right. Such as the location that if you go and roll a 12 or more, you go and have to pay all of your gold out.
Members Club.
Well, it goes and makes it to where you don't want to go and roll 12s. You don't want to go and activate your super high end.
You don't want to use your harbor to up a 10 to a 12.
Correct.
Yeah.
So
things that you generally liked about Machi Koro playing through. Something specific that you liked that struck you very much, Joe? Just any one thing.
This is a game where you can be strategic, or you can not really think about it at all and still kind of do all right. You're going to have some strategy at the end, but that's the end game of any game that requires any thought. And this game does require thought to a point, but I went in initially with the air quote strategy of I want to have stuff that's producing on every turn, so I would be buying the blue industry, the primary industry stuff. Yep. And I did really well because I didn't build landmarks and stayed on one die and let everybody else pay me money in a way that wasn't confrontational.
Until it needed to become confrontational. And then
I only had 2.
And then loan offices happened.
In terms of confrontational, the person who took that strategy up was Coop.
I mean, he had the most restaurants. I went and built the most restaurants, which you get paid when someone else rolls your number and they have to pay you out of their own gold.
I'm just taking from the bank.
It's not as large or as common typically as just getting paid on every turn by the blue cards. But
I don't know, that French restaurant did work for both of y'all.
Well,
it terrified me. It's one of the reasons why I didn't build landmarks.
One of the issues though that when it came up was the fact that the order of play. So Mike always had to go and pay you for the restaurants that he rolled before he went and paid me. Which was a thing, but
yeah, the family restaurants, the only restaurants I had.
So something you really liked about this?
I love all of the different angles that you can go about, going and pushing forward with the game. You can go and just jump straight to the higher end buildings that have very large payouts, or you can go and focus on the super low end and go and just build up a very consistent cash flow, or you can go and just mix and match and based on the hysterical cards that go and pop up and try to abuse as many card to card synergies as you want, like
moving offices and loan offices.
So the fact that all of the cards are kind of randomly flipped off the top with the expansions is so much better play line than if it was, just all out there a la Dominion. Because with the Dominion plan, there is always a right strategy to go and play. Always. And if you are not on that strategy or a strategy that goes and takes advantage of it, then you're going to just get blown out. So Dominion games are very bad. Whereas with this, it's very random what you have available to go and pick from. So you have to go and mesh all of these strategies together as you see fit. So I like that.
The only downside to that I have seen personally is you do wind up, as we did very early in the game, where the first few turns will draw out and be very grindy, because if the flop is a lot of expensive items, then you're praying for a lot of 1s, 2s, and 3s early on. But
Settlers of Catan, the first few turns, also very grindy.
Yep. Something you enjoyed, Ryan?
I probably enjoyed most about the game was the simplicity of how you basically laid it down. Once you got past that initial first landmark, I mean, you basically understood how the cards were going to be laid in there. It took me just a few minutes initially, because I was keep getting the turns screwed up as to what goes right then and there. And once I got onto that, it was pretty well okay. I do have to admit, the artwork in the box, as far as the cards and all that, was nice too. It's not something you would sit there like, oh crap, okay, here's another card. Oh crap, here's another one. I mean, each card does have its own little flair, and it kind of, in a way, it kind of reminds you of an actual card game for like SimCity in a way.
That's something that's a vibe I usually get off of this a lot. Is I like it because it's sort of a SimCity-ish vibe to it. Dislikes on Machi Koro, because I think anything that I would have said that I liked has been echoed. I'll be parroting other people. I will get mine out of the way first, because I don't know how much anybody else here is going to care about it. So I have the Deluxe Edition. What's deluxe about it? It came in a 10, and it had the expansions with it. That's what made it the Deluxe Edition. And it had a felt bag for the coins. So that is literally it. I'm not a huge fan of the component quality to this. To the Deluxe Edition. I think, because this run $50, the Deluxe. And
really?
Yes. And for what it's worth, it's value for money, because the base game by itself is generally $30. Each expansion is $20. So you are saving $20 by buying the deluxe version. But when I hear Deluxe Edition, I tend to think of better components than I do having all the stuff. So I think I would have rather had, better dice, better money. The cards themselves are...
They're going to break down pretty quick.
Yeah, they're not the greatest card stock in the world. And what's more, they are a really odd shape or odd-sized card, because they literally are smaller than Yu-Gi-Oh cards. So you
can't even use those slimmer sleeves for them.
You would wind up having to go out and buy specific, like I think Mayday makes a side sleeve that fits them, but you're actually going to have to seek them out unless they happen to carry them at your friendly local game store, and mine doesn't. So I think I would rather have had a larger card, as far as the size of the card, better card stock, one or the other. I could have dealt with this caliber card stock if it was a conventional size that I could go out and get sleeves for. Better money. I'll probably wind up replacing the money in this at some point. I do like the game, so I'm willing to bling it out a little bit. So I'm probably going to wind up going out and finding a different type of money to use with the game. And then, like I said, I despise the dice. Those are getting replaced soon. So if I'm going to knock anything on it, I'm knocking the components, because I think the Deluxe Edition, paying $50, I would have rather paid $50 for better cards, or even if not better cards, because then you really couldn't mesh them with the expansions. You'd have to have deluxe expansions. But I would have paid $50. I would have been happier to pay that for better money, better dice, and such, than $50 for everything. I'd have paid $20 to get the individual expansions later. But Joe, and for me to bitch about cost of a game means I'm nitpicking.
fault the game for what I would be calling out as much as players and strategies.
I'm sorry about the loan officers. Well, no, I'm not sorry about the loan officers. So one of the things that happened in the game, just to throw this out there.
This was something that happened early.
Yeah, so it happened early.
Built early.
Coop bought an establishment called a moving office, or moving company. And the moving company, on a roll of 9 or 10, you could take any one of essentially your non-purple locations and give them to someone else, at which point you get 4 gold. Well,
which is huge early.
Yeah, really good early. Well, there's another establishment that popped up called a loan office. Loan office costs 0. When you buy it, you get 5 gold off of it. But every time you roll a 9 or a 10, thereafter, or just a 9,
5 or 6.
5 or 6 rather, because that's my kept screaming. If you roll 5 or 6, you pay 2 gold back to the bank. So, I was getting, somebody else said there was restaurants over the other 9 and 10 that made me pain rolling. Made me pain rolling the moving company. So,
I had to strike back somehow.
Yeah. Well, Coop bought the first moving company. I bought the second one. There's a loan office sitting there the whole time. And when it comes back around to my turn and the loan office is still there, I buy the loan office. As soon as I buy it, and it's not very often that I figure out a trick in a board game ahead of Travis Cooper. The second I buy it, Coop looks at me and goes, "Oh, that's brilliant." Because he realizes immediately that I'm going to start shelling out the loan companies to everybody but me. So, well, everybody but me or Coop. Because if I hand it to Coop, it's damn near useless. He'll move it with a loaning company, or like a moving company just like I did.
Yeah.
But eventually, so all 4 of my loan companies, because every time one popped up, I bought it. All 4 of my loan companies wound up in front of Joe.
Partly because I had a lot of, as I said, the basic resources. So I was getting money just for rolls from anyone. And partly because I was sticking on only rolling 1 die for a very long time. So it was a 1/3 chance that I would trigger that.
So, and there were plenty of turns where it went and cost him his entire
That wound up being later.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
And that and he was rolling 2 dice then.
I was rolling 2 dice. I had a reroll, and I was still rolling 5s, and then the French restaurants. Actually, at that point, it wasn't the loan office; it was the French restaurants.
Oh yeah,
because that was when I was finally trying to make my run for the win.
Well,
or I was rolling a 10 and getting grafted from everything else anyway.
The cheer moment came when he rolled, would have triggered something, I forget what, and he was like, nope, and I'll re-roll it, and as he's re-rolling, I was like, and I literally said, I go, 5 or 6.
I went from bad to worse.
Yeah, and then he rolls a 6, at which point I thrust my hands there, yes! And I think I blew out the eardrum.
Yeah, damn near. So, I think late game, there's a slight problem, because you get to that instance where you're either dice seeking. Like Trav was trying to find.
Yeah, like I was digging for a 10 or a 12 for literally 4 turns in a row. If I could have hit a 10 or 12, any of those turns, I just won.
Yeah,
I was hitting points where I was trying to avoid certain dice because for about 3 or 4 turns there, I could have won. I only needed 10 gold available for purchase because I had the airport. So if I wasn't building, I was getting it back. But I kept losing it every turn. Or you get where you were at, Mike, and you were fishing for doubles.
Well, I was fishing for doubles or a 10 by the end of the game.
Yeah.
Well, for the final round, definitely.
Yeah.
But that kind of aggravated me because it reduced any of these decent, wide, versatile strategies to rolling specific numbers.
But that's how Settlers devolves as well, and that is a complaint for Settlers that I have as well.
If I play more Settlers to actually reach endgame before things get canceled,
we'll do that sometime. But my complaint about the game is the pacing of the game, especially towards the end, because when literally every turn was taking 3 minutes per person at the end of the game. I was actually kind of keeping track, and unless you went and rolled that magical 6 or 7 that activated pretty much jack all in the game.
Vineyard.
Then, sure, one card. Then you basically went and just passed your turn. Yeah. But for the 8s through 10s and the 5s and 6s, every time those are rolled, basically everyone had to say, "Wait, I need this. What do you have?"
Yeah. I think
It's the downside of the restaurant cards being what they are, I think.
One of the things they advertise on the cover is they do call this a fast-paced city building.
Oh, it's definitely not fast-paced.
Fast-paced till the end game, and then
but it could just be a lot of player experience as well.
Yes.
If we went and played it again, we probably could go and cut off a third of the time we went and spent playing it.
The thing to keep in mind, this was our first play. None of these three have played this game before today. I've played it once before today, so I know enough about it to teach it, basically. No, I think a lot of it's probably just familiarity, but there's also a lot of cards to get familiar with. So yeah, I can definitely buy that. It's grindy early, it's grindy late. In the middle, it's really fun. Well, grindy early and fishy late because you're fishing for stuff.
Yeah.
How about you, Ryan?
Technically, I really can't come up with anything bad about it or deficient about it. Like you just brought up, I've only played it. This is the first time for me.
Right.
I mean, I agree with the two previous points that were made.
Mm-hmm.
It does kind of grind you down a little bit,
mm-hmm.
especially when you're trying to figure out what each car can do.
Mm-hmm.
Is it going to aid you, or are you going to be able to screw your next over?
Right.
In a sense, I mean, I lucked out when I grabbed one card, and it came into play toward the very end.
Oh yeah,
that blocked Trav from a win.
Yeah. Yep, that card basically forced me to go and screw over my entire turn because it's a card that if you go and roll a 12 through a 14, you have to go and give away all of your gold before you receive your income.
If you have 10 or more.
And I had
that's Members Club is just period. 10 or more is his tax collectors.
Oh, okay.
But I went and had 25 gold, and me rolling a 11 and pushing it up to a 13 would have easily given me enough gold to go and build the airport and win. But because of that card, I basically would never be able to go and activate that card to get income ever again.
Mm. So, no, I definitely get that. To me,
which is fine. I mean, you wouldn't have bought the card. That's,
yeah. I just never figured any one of us would actually get to that because we were not really rolling 12s, 13s, and 14s. I mean,
yeah,
I think
that's why I bought a tuna boat, and that happened once.
Same here.
I didn't even get my investment into it back.
The first game I ever played with the tuna boat, it literally got rolled almost every turn. The first game I played, it was like
that's just dice statistics.
Yeah,
really.
it was me and Dave playing, and David.
We
David could avoid rolling a 10.
Really bad at rolling, 9s and up for a lot of the game. I mean, we were
7,
going
6s, majority of that, yeah.
Yeah, we were going for 3 and 4 bouts around this 4-person table without more than one person ever rolling above a 9.
Yeah.
Heck, we were going for a while there where no one was rolling above a 6.
Yeah.
And you 3 all had 2 dice to roll.
Yeah.
I was the only one who did, and I was like, whatever.
If you are a fan of the old Rage Quit Radio, mine and Coop's dice rolling skills are the stuff of legend. This game proved it to continue to transcend just minis games. So
accurate.
Yeah.
And probably played into my strategy paying off so well.
Yeah. So, final thoughts. What do you think? Would you spend money on it? Would you introduce it to people? Is this something you'd recommend? Keep in mind the deluxe edition. As I said, this is both expansions plus the base game. Nice box. Runs you $50. Just the base game by itself is $30. That's MSRP. So, what do you think, Joe?
Would I buy it? No. Would I borrow it? Yes.
Okay.
Partly the reason I wouldn't buy it is in part because it's actually some of the points you brought up with the quality for the deluxe edition.
Mm.
For the fun I had with it, I don't think I'd be wanting to put $50 of my own money out for that. And this is not a game I would play regularly enough to really get the money out of it. Okay. So, yeah, I'd borrow it from time to time. I wouldn't mind playing it at like game nights or parties and whatnot.
Sure.
But wouldn't be my first choice, and it wouldn't be something I'd want to own and have in my own cabinet if I had to move somewhere.
Okay. Fair enough.
Cool. If I did go and buy it, I would go and buy the deluxe edition because the idea of it being Dominion style just kind of sickens me. Because I think that would actually just destroy any replayability in the game whatsoever. Yeah. Whereas where it is now, it is very much replayable in the exact same way Settlers of Catan is replayable. With that said, this game definitely would go and compete against, the Settlers of Catan time slot. If you have enough time to play Settlers of Catan, you have enough time to go and play this. And they're about equal, and about as long, and about as aggravating and frustrating, to all of your friends in a good way. But then again, I really enjoy playing Settlers. So.
The thing I think, and I will say that I think this actually has over Settlers, is by the time the game ends, if you have too many dead numbers, it really is just your own damn fault.
Yep.
So, whereas Settlers, you can get angled out of crap.
Yeah.
But no, something you would buy, you think?
Yeah, probably will, because I feel this is a better answer to Settlers.
Okay. Fair enough. Ryan?
Would I buy? Yes, I probably would. Particularly this particular edition. It doesn't really bother me too much about the coin, the cardboard part of the coin and all that, because I've got other games that are similar to that. Like
sure.
Smash Up. I mean, for one, you got all those victory point type punch-outs. The reason I'd buy it, I would be comparing price to price.
Oh, it's value for money. It's $20 less to get it this way than to buy the 3 base editions, which is why I bought this one.
And I'm not running out to try to say, okay, I've got the base set. Damn, here I got to find this over here. Okay, now no, it's all there in one shot. Mm-hmm. And it is something simple. I mean, technically, if you have like 4 or 5 people to get together after dinner, a little dinner, you can break that out and say, all right, because it's like I said before, the cards and the way the play is made. It's more like an adult version of Monopoly or a really extreme adult version of SimC, the way it's really laid out. Mm. And,
and yet with a
couple beers, some wine, you can have a really good time. And it's okay if you pick on someone with this. You understand what I'm saying? I mean, it's not like you intentionally okay, Coop, I know what you're doing. Fuck you, I am screwing you with that card. No, it's just a simple way of saying, no, damn it, you're not going to get away with this.
Because the only, super good option for how you can give someone an obviously bad card is using the moving company to give someone a tax office. Literally, there's no other cards in the deck with horrific drawbacks. Yeah. None. So so going and giving someone cards, is with the exception of that one is
were they like the loan office?
Yeah.
The problem with the loan office thing wasn't the loan office or the strategy. I was amused with the strategy. It was him blowing my ear out by scraping the words.
Oh, yeah.
It's like final big payoff for him. Ow,
so, playability wise, I'd come back and play it again.
Obviously, I already own it. My complaints about the component quality is literally just the phrasing they used. I would have rather them said something like Machi Koro complete collection or something like that. Rather than calling it the Deluxe edition, because that word carries different meaning to me than it obviously did to them. But with that said, it is value for money, because you're going to wind up getting basically one expansion free. That's the way the money works out. I do think it's a very cool game. It took over Dominion's spot on my shelf. It's the reason, well, I already had enough reasons I wasn't going to buy Settlers of Catan, but this put the nail in the coffin. No, I enjoyed a great deal. So this is, everyone here I think likes it. 3 of us are willing to put money into it. So I think that's a pretty good standing. Coop, you did good. You picked a good one for your birthday.
Hooray!
So,
appreciate it.
So, folks, next time, I think what we're going to do is, I think we're going to do another put somebody on the spot kind of deal. So next time we meet up, because I think this worked out well, and it keeps me from picking all the games and having people scream at me if one of them sucks. So, within our next couple of 2 or 3 episodes, let's see here. I know how we'll figure this out. There is a coin sitting right up there beside you, Ryan. If you'll be so kind as to hand me that. It's the first time I've ever gotten to use this, and Joe gave it to me. So,
the DM.
Yeah, the Play Dice for the Universe coin. So I think it's only fair. Call it black or white. That's the 2 sides of the coin. So
white.
All right, white it is. You're on the spot, Joe. What's within the next time we get together that you're here? What's one of the games we're playing?
I have to call it now. I don't get the luxury of waiting until the day when, like Coop did.
Well, we gave Coop a pass because it was his birthday and he was tired, and we were expecting him to be drunk and more amusing. But but to be fair, he would be drinking and driving, and that's bad, folks. Never drink and drive. But
that is accurate. I do go and go somewhere and then drink. So I drive first, then I drink.
So and then he gets away to drive you home.
And it doesn't have to be something that I own here. If you have a game you want to bring and we play, then obviously that works too.
No, that's its own series.
Yeah, Risk Legacy is going to get its
yes,
own
you have a
series.
seat. I know that already. I'm torn between two choices, and they're actually right next to each other on the shows.
Let me guess. Nothing personal in Takedo?
That'd be correct.
Okay. So...
You know what? Because I bought it for you in the first place, we'll do Tokaido.
Okay.
And have you played the expansion yet?
It's in there. We'll probably play without it the first time, so that we can
Fair
play it again without it. So, folks, stay tuned. Next couple episodes may not be the next one, maybe the one after that, but Takedo is coming up on RQR very soon. So, until next time, this is Mike,
Joe,
Travis,
Ryan,
and we'll see you next time on Rage Quit Radio.